welcome. This is Just Human, episode 342. I hope you guys, before listening to this, I hope you listened to episode 341, where I went over some stuff going on with the Comey indictment and the various articles that are attributed to media leaks from the FBI. And we went over the media leak investigations. And we're going to do some more of that same kind of thing today. We're going to go back in time to 2016 and 2017. And I never get tired of this subject. This entire Russiagate subject, leak investigation, Comey, Strzok, Page, McCabe, Crossfire Hurricane, all of this, I just never get tired of digging into this stuff. There's so many places to go in this web, in this espionage, counter espionage, whatever. There's just so much there. And I find it all so fascinating. And something that keeps my attention about it is that there's just so many threads to pull on. It's like this knot, this Gordian knot that you're trying to undo, and you never get it completely unraveled, it seems. There's always more. And one of the most exciting things about the Comey indictment is that it promises more of an unraveling of a portion of that greater Russiagate, Spygate knot. But somewhere in that knot, somewhere, there's an end to the threads, and those threads end with that witch. Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton. Many of those threads somehow go back to her and go back to the Clinton Foundation investigation and go back to the mid-year exam, the email investigation. And so there's always this thing about it where you unravel some and it seems to go over here to the FBI or go to the New York Times or go into the Trump world and to his campaign. But eventually it always goes back to the witch. You always find a thread or more that leads you back to the witch. And that's one of the things I think that gets me the most excited about it, is that it's not so much that I always think, like I hold out a fool's hope that one day she'll be arrested. It's more like I have a trust in the arc of justice, as that quote goes, and that it arcs toward the arc of our lives, and the arc of any of these stories ends up bending towards justice. And hers may be long in coming, but I believe in karma, and I believe in the good people that I see doing good work in the justice system, and I also believe in and really it's built on experience and what I've come to find over and over again, whether it's looking at simple criminal cases, very very simple crimes, or whether it's super complex crimes or it's cold cases, is that there's always evidence, and the criminal rarely gets away. They get away for a time, but they rarely get completely away with that crime. There's a way that it comes back to get them. Not every single time, not 100% of the time, but it seems like 99% of the time it comes back around in some way. And crimes that are this complex, that involve this many people, and there's this many layers and this many facets to it, and there's so many different crimes at issue that were pulled off on the American people, whether it's like Uranium One or foreign money to the Clinton Foundation, fleecing America, or it's crimes against Trump by people who were trying to do dirty politics. All of these things, it just seems like eventually it unravels in a way that they are revealed for who they actually are, and what they actually did is revealed. And the story of 2016 and the story of the witch hunt, the story of Trump, is nowhere near its conclusion. That's one of the things that got me excited about when the Crossfire Hurricane binder, more of it was declassed, and sure, there were some things in it that we'd always known, but there were some things in it we hadn't known. For example, it really showed how McCabe made sure in his meeting with Mike Pence to frame Mike Flynn as being having been dishonest with Pence, leading to Flynn being fired. And it showed to us in a very direct light McCabe's role in that. And I did an episode on that a while back that you can look up from earlier this spring. And we're going to talk more about McCabe today. The first part of the show is going to be about McCabe. We're going to look at the IG report on McCabe. And I think it's worth to go through that page by page. There's a reason I'm smiling about that phrase in particular there. And we're also going to look at the IG report on Comey and Comey's famed memos that are at issue in the IG report. And both of those things, I'm not just reaching back to them to review them with you, because I like doing that, which I do. I do like it. I do like rereading them. I'm reaching back to them because they're now freshly applicable. They're now informative of what is happening in United States v. Comey, or what could be happening. Either both of those reports are going to become relevant, or one of them will. I believe both of them will be very relevant to the indictment against Comey. And yesterday on the show, which I'm recording this a day after, you may be watching this a different span of days, right? I'm not sure if I'm going to release this episode on Thursday or Friday of this week. Not sure yet. But on the previous episode, on episode 341, we were talking about who could be person number 3 in the Comey indictment. Because person 3 is who James Comey is alleged to have authorized to serve as an anonymous source in news reports regarding an FBI investigation concerning person 1. We have some candidates for who person 3 could be. And yesterday I said the most obvious candidate, the most likely, was Daniel Richman, the special government employee and lawyer to James Comey, who he had hired and had given, we're going to learn in the IG report, he had given some memos to, and who had gone to the media and served as a source in various media reports, including this one, which I've read before on the show and is a very famous article. It's also the article that I drew from heavily in my favorite article I've ever written. This one right here. So Daniel Richman is the most likely person 3, but it could also be James Rybicki, Comey's chief of staff. There's a chance it's him. There's also a chance it's James Baker, who had also leaked to media and who had said, oh, I thought I was supposed to, I was under the impression that this was authorized. James Rybicki gave me the impression that it was authorized by Comey to share a draft statement with the media. But there's a fourth person who this could be. There's a fourth candidate for person number 3. And that's Lisa Page, who was who was McCabe's special counsel, his lawyer at the FBI. She worked under McCabe. And we know that she also leaked to media, including being a source for the article we read yesterday. We read it in full, which is, I'm scanning up here, this one. This article that we read that's from October 30th, 2016, and it's one of the articles for which there was a media leak investigation You may recall in this article, there's a very favorable characterization of McCabe's role in these things. McCabe comes up in here, and the things said about him show him in a favorable light. Like he was trying to get the investigation going, and he was trying to make sure they had chased down every lead, and he didn't want to stand in the way of any part of it. And McCabe was caught in between an increasingly acrimonious fight for control between DOJ and FBI pursuing the Clinton Foundation case. It was high stakes when such disagreements occur, and McCabe knew that it didn't look too good that his wife had gotten money from Terry McAuliffe, a Clinton friend. So nobly, McCabe withdrew from the investigation. He didn't want it to appear that he was compromising anything, that he was standing in the way, that there was any favorable treatment. He had no role in the Clinton email probe, well, until he became deputy director. But by then, his wife's campaign was over. This whole article kind of frames up McCabe as being an honorable FBI employee, a good cop. In that framing, in the sources for information in this article, particularly the information about the Clinton Foundation investigation, which was not public information, came from Lisa Page. And McCabe knew that. So looking at the indictment against Comey, knowing that person one is Hillary Clinton, this could be read as person three being Lisa Page. Because what happened later, when the IG started tracking down these leaks, once Trump was president, and as those leak investigations started looking at the mid-year exam article from April 2017, and also looking at the Tropic Vortex information and how that got leaked, that article, Tropic Vortex, concerned the October 2016 article, which is this one. The Arctic Haze investigation concerned this one. So is this indictment, when you look at this indictment, and you try and answer the question of who's person one and who's person three, you can make both of those fit. And if it's the October article that it's about, then it very well could be Lisa Page, who is person number three. But if it's this article, then it very well could be Daniel Richman. And the way it would work, if it's Lisa Page, has a lot to do with McCabe. Here we go. I need to go to this page. With McCabe and how he changed his story over and over again, and the version of events he eventually landed on in his under oath interview with the IG is that everybody knew who the leakers were at FBI, and it was authorized by James Comey. Now, I made a mistake in my episode yesterday. I played some clips, and I forgot to unmute y'all's audio. So y'all didn't hear the clips I played, which is terrible. But one of the things you're gonna get used to this clip as we follow this case, because it's Senator Ted Cruz questioning of Comey at this hearing that this indictment is based on. This is the lie, allegedly. This is the alleged lie. Before we get into it, I should remind you, like a good podcaster, my link tree is linked in the profile wherever you're listening or watching this or following me. It's also in the description of this show. And on my link tree, you can find all the places to follow, all the places to watch, all the places to listen, and all the ways to support. Thank you, everybody who's made purchases at my affiliates. Thank you, everybody who's bought me coffee. I really need it. Coffee is a requirement for doing this show and for going over these documents. And most of all, thank you to everyone who is a paid subscriber at justhuman.substack.com. You don't have to be paid to subscribe there. You can subscribe there for free. And as soon as the episodes are ready or the articles are written, you'll get an email notifying you of them, linking that to you. You can use the Substack app, and you can read, listen, or watch on the Substack app. But a paid subscription is the number one way to support the show and keep me doing this. And I really appreciate everybody who is a paid subscriber over at my Substack. I do recommend that people, if they go for a paid subscription, I recommend you do it through browser instead of doing it through the app. I've never had anybody complain about doing it through the browser, but I have had people complain about doing it through the app about a half dozen times or so. And also, it's a new thing to where Substack is giving 30% of your subscription fee to the App Store instead of to the creator. So I would ask that you do it through the browser. And if you're if you're a paid subscriber to anybody else on Substack, I would encourage you to subscribe to them through the browser. I know they would appreciate it as well. Over on Rumble is where I'm doing playlist, and this one, my most recent episode, has been added to the United States v. Comey playlist, and this one will be too. There's also a playlist there, which is all my different cases I go through. I also have one for clips, and then there's just the Just Human podcast playlist. So if you're looking, where can I find? You're looking for my latest episode. If you go to that playlist, you'll find them right here. And I don't know, maybe you want to bookmark that. If the way you consume my content is you go to Rumble, instead of bookmarking my homepage, bookmarking the playlist, which is all of my episodes, might be a good idea. Okay. So we're going to go to the IG report on Andrew McCabe. And I do think that Daniel Richman is most likely person 3. I think Daniel Richman is most likely person 3. But I think Lisa Page is a strong candidate for it. I really do. Daniel Richman is still most likely, but I think Lisa Page is a strong candidate for it. I also think that it's highly likely that we will hear testimony, assuming this thing goes to trial, as Comey said that he wants it to, right here in this clip, which I played yesterday. But
my family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing.
A trial of Comey is almost certainly going to feature McCabe, Strzok, Page, Rybicki, James Baker testifying about how Comey and Daniel Richman, how Comey handled media engagement. Okay. IG report of investigation of certain allegations related to former FBI Director Andrew McCabe, Deputy Director. Okay, this misconduct report addresses accuracy of statements made by then FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe to the FBI's Inspection Division and to the Office of Inspector General concerning disclosure of certain law enforcement sensitive information related to Devlin Barret that was published online in the Wall Street Journal October 30th, 2016 article entitled FBI in Internal Feud Over Hillary Clinton Probe. And that is this article right here, which we read yesterday. Remember, Lisa Page was a source for this. This investigation was initially opened by INSD to determine whether the information published, INSD is the Inspection Division, whether the information published by the Wall Street Journal in the October 30th article was an unauthorized leak, and if so, who was the source of the leak? On August 31st, 2017, the OIG opened an investigation of McCabe following the inspection division's referral. So the inspection division had already made a referral. They had already interviewed McCabe and were after this. And I remember yesterday I showed you, we were looking at some of this right here, the media leak investigations. And I typed in some letters over here to fill in the redactions. And after the show was over, even though I'd found a couple words that fit, after the show was over, I was like, man, I really can't do that with this type of redaction, because the way these redactions work, they block out, like they're a character in the text and they occupy more space than they actually should. They're not exactly on top of the characters underneath. Does that make sense? So trying to play the typical guess the redaction game by typing on top of these the words we can see and then filling in what we can't doesn't work well, because this actually changes. These redaction blocks actually, they're not on top of the redactions. They're a character themselves in the document, and they mess with your ability to do that. So you can't really do that. I just remembered that after I finished recording and the show was compiling and uploading, I was playing with it a little bit more, and I was just like, man, I can't have strong faith in that because of the way these redactions are done. But anyway, INSD was someone who I thought, hey, that's a possibility. Oh, I just heard some noise coming. I don't know if you guys heard that. Okay. All right. So INSD, the Inspection Division for FBI agents, let's see, the referral of the matters to OIG after they became concerned that McCabe may have lacked candor when questioned by INSD agents about his role in the disclosure to the Wall Street Journal article. Shortly before that INSD referral, as part of its ongoing review of allegations regarding various actions by the department and the FBI in advance of the 2016 election, the OIG identified FBI text messages by McCabe's then special counsel, Lisa Page. They reflected, it doesn't say it's Lisa Page, but it is. They reflected that she and then Assistant Director of Public Affairs, who is the ADOPA, had been in contact with Devlin Barret on October 27th and 28th, 2016, and the OIG began to review the involvement of McCabe, the special counsel, and ADOPA in the disclosure of information to the Wall Street Journal in connection with the October 30th article. In addition to addressing whether McCabe lacked candor, the OIG's misconduct investigation addressed whether any FBI or DOJ policies were violated in disclosing non-public FBI information to the Wall Street Journal. The OIG's misconduct investigation included reviewing all of the Inspection Division investigative materials, as well as numerous additional documents, emails, text messages, and OIG interview transcripts. The OIG interviewed numerous witnesses, including McCabe, Special Counsel Lisa Page, and James Comey, among others. As detailed below, we found that in late October 2016, McCabe authorized Special Counsel Lisa Page and ADOPA to discuss the Barret issues related to the FBI's Clinton Foundation investigation. In particular, McCabe authorized Special Counsel Lisa Page and ADOPA to disclose to Barret the contents of a telephone call that had occurred on August 12, 2016, between McCabe and the then Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General, the PADAG. Now, these acronyms are going to kind of that's how these documents go, right? You got to remember what the acronyms stand for. One acronym that I often forget what it stands for in this report is the PADAG or the PADAG, Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General. I often forget that. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I don't remember whose name it is. A couple names just came up, and I'm forgetting them. I want to say it's Yates, but I don't think it is. No, I don't think it was Yates. Anyway, the PADAG. That's a clunky acronym. Just remember, it's an Associate Deputy Attorney General. Among the purposes of the disclosure was to rebut a narrative that had been developing following a story in the Wall Street Journal on October 23rd, 2016, that questioned McCabe's impartiality in overseeing FBI investigations involving former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and claimed that McCabe had ordered the termination of the Clinton Foundation investigation due to DOJ pressure. The disclosure to the Wall Street Journal effectively confirmed the existence of the Clinton Foundation investigation. So this is something that's very key. It was not known. It was not public info that the Clinton Foundation investigation was going on. All this stuff we went over in a previous episode, this D-class timeline of the Clinton Foundation investigation and how it involved New York, Little Rock, and D.C., and FBI was looking at it, and DOJ was looking at it. And at some point, Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates ordered Eastern District of Arkansas to shut it down, according to this. That was in March of 2016. McCabe was being briefed on the Clinton Foundation investigation as deputy director of the FBI, even though his wife had received $1.5 million from either the Clinton Foundation or Clinton Associates for her campaign. It was secret. This investigation was secret. Now, seems a fair assumption to make that given McCabe and his wife's close relationship and other people's close relationship with the Clintons, that the Clintons were probably aware of this, but it wasn't public info nonetheless. It wasn't public info. And by this, when this article came out and Wall Street Journal started asking questions about the Foundation investigation, the fact that it was leaked, that, oh no, McCabe wasn't messing around with it. He didn't get in the way of the Clinton Foundation investigation, therefore confirmed the existence of the investigation, and that was a leak. That was spillage. The disclosure to the Wall Street Journal effectively confirmed the existence of the Clinton Foundation investigation, which then FBI Director Comey had previously refused to do. The account of the August 12 McCabe PADAG call and other information regarding the handling of the Clinton Foundation investigation, I feel like this is Sally Yates, but I could be wrong, was included in the October 30th Wall Street Journal article. Let's go to the article. Is it Yates that's mentioned in here? That's in the comments. Yates is mentioned in the comments. Let's see, there's that call is mentioned. August 12th, according to a person familiar with the probes, again, this is most likely going to be Lisa Page. On August 12th, a senior Justice Department official called Mr. McCabe to voice his displeasure at finding New York FBI agents were still openly pursuing the Clinton Foundation probe during the election season. The Justice Department official was very pissed off, according to one person close to Mr. McCabe, and pressed him to explain why the FBI was still chasing the matter the department considered dormant. Others said the DOJ was simply trying to make sure FBI agents were following longstanding policy to not make overt investigative moves. Are you telling me that I need to shut down a validly predicated investigation? Mr. McCabe asked, according to people familiar with the conversation. After a pause, the official replied, "Of course not." Now, see, there's the shutdown verbiage again, which we know that according to this timeline, which is a product of FBI, that language of shut it down is alleged to have come from Sally Yates to the Eastern District of Arkansas U.S. Attorney's Office back in March of that same year of 2016. Now we're in August. Here we go. And a phone call is being made from someone who's very pissed off, a senior person at Justice, who's very pissed off that New York FBI agents are still working on the Clinton Foundation probe. What? 6 months later. And allegedly, according to Lisa Page, who works for Mr. McCabe, he said, "Are you telling me I need to shut down a validly predicated investigation?" Now, here is something that would piss Clinton world off, and is that right there, validly predicated, is confirmation that there's a valid predication for it to be investigated in the first place, and that someone at Justice is trying to shut it down. So there's two disclosures in the existence. Actually, there's three disclosures you could count it as. Three disclosures in just that right there. One, that the investigation exists. Two, that there's a valid predication for it. And three, that DOJ is pressuring FBI to shut it down. Now, another question that comes up that's an obvious one is why is Page trying to make McCabe look good at this time? And why is she willing to leak this right here? Isn't she pro Clinton? Aren't they in the Clinton camp? Isn't isn't McCabe working for Clinton? You would think so, but for some reason they're shaping a narrative here with these leaks, right? They're trying to shape a narrative here. Why would they want to do that? Days before the election. Why would they want to do that? It's a good question. It's one to ponder. There's a couple answers I can think of, but I'm going to let you stew on that for a little while. You may already have an answer, but I would encourage you to entertain a few options for it. All right, we found that, OIG, back to the report, we found that in a conversation, I should zoom this in probably a little bit more for you guys. We found that in a conversation, McCabe, wait a minute. Okay, we found that on May 9th, 2017, when questioned under oath by the FBI agents for the inspection division, McCabe lacked candor, meaning he lied, when he told the agents that he had not authorized the disclosure to the Wall Street Journal and did not know who did. This conduct violated FBI Offense Code 2.6. We further found that on July 28th, 2017, so 2 months later, almost 3 months later, when questioned under oath by the OIG in a recorded interview, McCabe lacked candor again when he stated A, that he was not aware of Lisa Page having been authorized to speak to reporters around October 30th, and B, that because he was not in Washington, D.C. on October 27th, 28th, 2016, he was unable to say where special counsel was, meaning Lisa Page, where she was or what she was doing at that time. This conduct violated FBI Offense Code 2.6, which is lack of candor under oath. He lied under oath. We additionally found, so that's what? That's one lie, two lies, three lies. We additionally found that on November 29th, 2017, when questioned under oath by OIG in a recorded interview, during which he contradicted his prior statements by acknowledging he had authorized the disclosure. He also went on to lack candor when he, A, stated that he told Comey on October 31st, 2016, that he had authorized the disclosure. So here he lied. He said he told Comey that he had authorized it. But that was a lie. He hadn't told Comey. B, he denied telling inspection agents on May 9th that he had not authorized the disclosure about the PA-DAG call. And C, asserted that inspection division's questioning of him on May 9th about the October 30th article occurred at the end of an unrelated meeting. when one agent pulled him aside and asked him a question or two about the article. This conduct also violated Offense Code 2.6. He lied. Lastly, we determined that as Deputy Director, McCabe was authorized to disclose the existence of the Clinton Foundation investigation publicly if such a disclosure fell within the public interest exception in applicable FBI and DOJ policies generally prohibiting such a disclosure of an ongoing investigation. However, we concluded that McCabe's decision to confirm the existence of the investigation through an anonymously sourced quote recounting the content of a phone call with a senior department official in a manner designed to advance his personal interest at the expense of department leadership was clearly not within the public interest exception. We therefore conclude that McCabe's disclosure of the existence of an ongoing investigation in this manner violated the FBI and DOJ's media policy and constituted misconduct. The OIG is issuing this report to the FBI for such actions as it deems appropriate. So the IG finds not only that were there multiple lies, they find that McCabe authorized the disclosure. He was aware of the disclosure from his special counsel, and that he authorized it in furtherance of his own personal interest. How could that be? How could it be that McCabe leaking that he stood up to the DOJ to keep a Clinton Foundation investigation, to keep the FBI investigating the Clinton Foundation, seeing it through, running the leads to ground? How could it be that him standing up to the DOJ for that particular investigation would be in his personal interest? Because it sets up the narrative that he's an honorable official at the FBI. And so later, when he closes that investigation, or any other investigation having to do with the Clintons, it doesn't, and she's president, because remember, she was never supposed to lose. It then protects it makes him look like he has integrity, because remember, he was the guy who was keeping it going. He stood up to the DOJ who wanted to close it. They were the crooked ones. And so when Hillary later rewards him for his integrity as an honest cop at the FBI, the media can write glowing stories about how he made sure to investigate the Clintons when there was a predicate to do so, and he also made sure to close it when there was no longer one. He's one of the good guys, right? That's the narrative it sets up. And you got to think about all the pressure FBI was under at this time, and also the DOJ. It also shows him throwing somebody, necessarily here, he's throwing somebody under the bus at the DOJ because they wanted to shut it down. And might there be an angle to him doing that? Okay. These are the policy section. We don't need to go through all of this. I will read this part. James Comey, who was the FBI director at the time of that Wall Street Journal article, told the OIG that the authority to disclose the existence of a pending investigation is, quote, confined to the director and deputy director, which McCabe was a deputy director, and that in making such decisions, quote, the default is we don't talk about pending investigations. He also told the OIG that significant disclosures about investigations always go through me, meaning James Comey, and that he could not remember any disclosure by any of the three deputy directors that served under him during his tenure that did not involve close coordination with him, the director. Comey also told the OIG that the FBI does not disclose a criminal investigation anonymously sourced in a newspaper. This brings up the occasion for me to respond to a comment I got on the most recent episode right here. I got, was it this? No, maybe it's the previous episode. It's episode 340. I got a comment from right here from Keltra. They said, I pulled out my old Spygate infographic from the Epoch Times, which is a great thing. And it has a sticky note on it that said President Trump fired Comey for refusal to tell the public what he was privately telling him, which is that he was not under investigation. This is true. I don't remember where I got that info from. Does anyone else remember President Trump tweeting it out? Yes, this is correct. So the official story is that Trump fired Comey because Comey wouldn't tell the public, wouldn't say in public what he was saying to Trump privately, which was that Trump was not under investigation, which is true. He wasn't. But I personally don't buy the story. I think that's the agreed upon cover story for why Trump fired Comey, but I don't think that's the actual reason, because it's not a good reason. And I don't think Trump ever fires someone for a bad reason. I think Trump fires people for good reasons, whether it's part of a plan, which I think the firing of Comey is part of a plan. I think Comey being fired is part of the sting. But Comey was telling Trump privately that President Trump was not under investigation. And he told others privately that Trump was not a target of the investigation, of the Russia investigation. And he wasn't. Trump was not. But Comey isn't going to say that publicly because the FBI never says who is and who is not a target of an investigation. That's how they treat all investigations. And Comey was not going to break from that. So that's the policy. And Trump was mad about that. I also think that's kayfabe. So to me, this is one of the examples of the kayfabe between Trump and Comey, because there's a contradiction there. And there's basically the contradiction is that Trump fired Comey for a very selfish reason and for a non-legitimate reason. So if you believe that Trump fired Comey because Comey refused to tell the public that Trump was not the target of the investigation, then that's an illegitimate firing. That's not right. And maybe that's the case, and in which case Trump was wrong to fire Comey. But I choose to believe that that's just the official story. That's just the narrative story. That's for part of the show. And instead, I believe that Comey was fired to set up the sting off on McCabe, because immediately McCabe tried to pull out an investigation on Trump, tried to find a predicate to investigate Trump, and McCabe was later fired, lost his pension, all of those things. I think it set up the sting on some other corrupt people that were in leadership at FBI. And then I think it also set up Robert Mueller becoming special counsel. And then that stopped a lot of people going after the whole thing, twisting into an investigation of Trump. So, and I think that fits. I think that fits overall, especially when you read the IG report, the big IG report on Crossfire Hurricane, because it finds that the political bias didn't interfere in their investigations, and in the decision-making of the investigation, that the political bias of Strzok or Page didn't factor in. I think that was the goal. I think Trump wanted special counsel Mueller. And Comey wanted special counsel Mueller. We know that for a fact because Comey said he was trying to get a special counsel appointed. I think one of the things that had to happen is that Comey had to be out for this next phase of the sting to continue. And I think a lot of that is going to come into focus again with this indictment of Comey. It just opens it all back up. Okay. And y'all are, by the way, you guys are free to think that I'm over my skis or I'm fantasizing or whatever you want to think. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I think that the over-the-top hatred of James Comey is the same thing. I think it's fantasy hate. I think it's buying into emotional narratives that clickbait media on the right has repeatedly cooks up and feeds people over and over again. I think it's buying into the theater that Trump engages in with the whole thing. Every time there's some claim about Comey from media on the right that is meant to get us outraged, when you go and scratch at it, you don't have to scratch very, very deep to find out that it's mostly narrative or it's mostly framing or characterization of something. And there's a much more simple and just better explanation that doesn't have any of that, any baggage. So like so many things, the more emotional and the more over the top the advertising is of the thing, whether it's AI or Comey or January 6th or climate change or whatever the topic is, the more emotion and hyperbole and just clickbaitiness that comes with it, the less substance there is with it. All of that over the top stuff is making up for the lack of substance. And it oversells it. And I notice that overselling. I can't help but see that overselling. And then I go to the bare facts of it and I find that, oh, it's not nearly what it's being advertised to be. And that's one of the things that keeps me coming back around to kayfabe being a pretty decent explanation for a lot of the back and forth that we see. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to investigation, factual facts. McCabe began his career with the FBI in 96 as a special agent. He served blah, 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 blah. On February 1st, 2016, McCabe was appointed Deputy Director of the FBI, overseeing all FBI domestic and international investigative and intelligence activities. McCabe became acting director of the FBI on May 9th, 2017, after Comey was fired. By the way, there are some Strzok and Page text messages around this time that McCabe is promoted or just before, where they're talking about him being promoted and it being a very good thing for Lisa. I'm going to go find them. Okay. Here in this discussion is happening 2016 January, and Page texts to Strzok, I had a sudden sad and true realization you're going to leave the bureau. She says, boo. After Andy leaves, meaning Andy McCabe. As hard as it is to go back to OGC, the Office of General Counsel, last time, how do you ever go do something outside of or below that level? That makes me sad. Strzok says, I know that's what I've been trying to tell you. Let's pretend for a moment that they didn't all... Actually, no, wait. This is Page replying back. Let's pretend for a moment they didn't all hate me. So she's saying that people at the OGC hate her. Even without that, it would be hard to go back. But with it, it's pretty impossible. I won't be gone forever. You never know. And Strzok says back, damn right. If I make it to deputy director, I'll bring you back as general counsel. And she's like, no, that sucks. Keep your head up, though. It will work itself out in a few months. Plus, remember, the job is going to be awesome. This is talking about future job prospects. I know it will. It just sucks when it's otherwise so undeserving. And remind me what's said about she needs to do for herself, detail, special assistant, etc. Andy chaired it. He was there. Mark, Randy. Others may be off screen. I didn't see. So we're talking about a meeting they just had. They leak an article about Ted Cruz. And I was thinking, don't you think the director will tell you in person since you're meeting with him anyway? I really hope so. I really hope he does. Then they talk about something else. It's not even going to be your job in about 2 weeks. She's complaining about something. He's like, not even going to be your job in about 2 weeks. Still, I'm sorry. Would it help? Would it help put your mind at ease if you went in? But it will be my job at headquarters. No, I'm not going to achieve anything at work. Blah, blah, blah. They're just gabbing back and forth. Talking about the Fox News website, then arranging for them to talking about Carlin, James being on 60 Minutes and being insane. He's a freak show. Or it's a freak show, which I agree. Then here, January 22nd, I told him you got the job like not even an hour ago, talking about a different employee. I told him that you were looking and was definitely interested. I don't see why not. That you were looking. Be told him I didn't want him to foreclose a possible opportunity in case you had a job, and it worked out. So yes, he can know that we talked. It only makes sense. So she's talking about, whenever I meet with him, can I tell him that you and I have talked about me taking this job? And she's like, yeah. And Strzok is like, yeah. And I also told him, you might want to get her before she takes another opportunity. And she's like, all right, well, he emailed me this afternoon. I told him I want to grab a coffee. And then they're complaining about marchers out in traffic problems in D.C. Let's see. Talking about how much they hate them. They're talking about abortion protesters. They're mad about the abortion protesters. All right, and then right here she says, all right, special counsel implies an OGC position, meaning Office of General Counsel. And would you get those emails if you weren't an OGC? Regardless, that worry about what name will resolve itself after once you get a chance to start working. One of those impossible to know, but it will be fine, I promise. He's trying to reassure, right? But they're arguing about, or not arguing, but she's wondering about what title she's going to have. Is your title that big of a deal to you at the end of the day? Not saying it shouldn't be, just trying to understand where it ranks within your priorities. I'm not sure I agree if Trisha's whole point of putting me here is to ensure more reliance on Office of General Counsel. I'm not sure she's going to embrace me acting independently, which is the only way I know how to be. We'll forward a couple emails, not a perfect example, but maybe a little demonstrative. There are other quote unquote special counsels. The directors, there's one in the OCA. I'm sure they're grandfathered, but I don't think Jim, meaning Comey, or especially Trisha, will want me to suggest I'm a lawyer if I'm not in Office of General Counsel. The title is pretty important to me, actually, especially if I plan to leave the Bureau. I want my title to this is Page talking. I want my title to reflect the work I'm doing. WTF is a special assistant. Whenever to the private sector, like if a private sector job looks at it and they see special assistant, what are they going to make of that title? Chief of staff would be fine, but one, that's not the job I'll be doing. And two, Rybicki has made pretty clear he's opposed to me using that title. I'm a lawyer. It's my identity. That's what I'd like to call myself, she says. He says, all right, I understand. So stay in the Office of General Counsel and be a special counsel. Why does JB not want that? Meaning James Baker. And then Strzok says, a lot of OGCs are dummies, but Jim and Trisha are not, and you can work with both of them. And you won't be chief of staff. It's not worth fighting that for all the reasons you mentioned. And you can act independently and have weekly meetings with her or with Jim, meaning with Trisha or with Jim Baker. Albach says, and then Page says, I'm not sure you're following me. I imagine James Baker and Trisha Anderson will want me to stay in the Office of General Counsel. What I'm saying is I don't want to second guess or worry about whether I am stepping on their toes, especially Trisha. She's so hard to read and is still developing her relationships with our execs, especially Andy. Strzok says, oh, I got you. I don't have an easy answer, particularly if you want the special counsel title. If you do, I think you likely need to be in OGC, and you're going to have to feel out the relationships. JB will be much easier than Trisha, because in some ways you're going to step on Trisha's toes. But I think if Andy is clear with what he wants, and I think he will be, that will help tremendously. So it's in their mind right here, end of January, setting up Lisa Page to work really closely with Andy McCabe. And then let's see, he's promoted in February, right? Yeah, February 1st. And Strzok says, well, he wants you. Wait, here we go. Page replies, I guess so regarding Andy, but he respects hierarchy a lot too. Strzok replies, well, but he wants you to work for him. So let him take the lead on the role and expectations and have that dialogue with James Baker, maybe without you there. And then Strzok says, I've been thinking a lot about you and your new job. James Baker and Trisha, no spectacular insights, but looking forward to talking to you about it. They're talking about her being included on most emails and how it's going to work. So he's like Strzok is totally gaming here to help Page get this job underneath Andy McCabe. Okay. And here, this is from Page. She says yes to both, and this is talking about this article about David Petraeus. But we also both know a soon-to-be departing exec happy to stick it to DOJ. And it's not the first time in these text messages that she has some nastiness towards DOJ attorneys and people at DOJ. So there's acrimony there. Versus ETY permanent. Strzok says, if you weren't OGC and couldn't have special counsel title, what would you take? You sure James Baker wouldn't let you? He says, I'm not sure the ins and outs of position creation. I think John went through that when working for Bob. I can ask him in a general, non-attributable way. Page replies, attitude about what? Not thrilled about my keeping the title. Not sure Jim will care. Also suggested special advisor, which I could live with. They talk about the title of special advisor. Trisha is fine with me working for, I think this is talking about Trisha. She's fine with me working for Andy. What is there to talk about with Moffa? I'm not concerned about Andy's ability to get me a permanent gig with him. He's the deputy director. Plus, he's been assistant deputy director or acting deputy director, so he likely already knows what he needs to do. He characterized it positively. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, there's somewhere they talk about getting it. we're about to the day that he gets the promotion. Andy may be entirely consumed by Oregon thing right now. Mark was when I last briefed. I think that's supposed to be briefed director, and they hadn't even. There's some misspellings here. I know he's super busy. Sounds like he had a good convo though, and now he's anxious in a good way to hear what we have to say. So hopefully lunch with him tomorrow actually sticks. Town for an investigation. Criminal Division all hands was earlier on snow day, rescheduled for tomorrow. I remember the Rybicki story, and I have Andy car story. And then inbox, hi, I like my new job. Yay, and deputy director thing is at 1 o'clock, still in with Andy. Hey, just finished with Andy, this is going to be great. Walking down within 2, hopefully to see you there. New job, nothing like self-doubt in the dead of night, so she's worried about her new job. Now, again, if you read a lot of the Page-Strzok text messages, she'll give you a headache. And Strzok ends up getting like super short with her. She'll write like these novels and he'll be really short. He used to write longer messages, but he starts writing less and less and less back. Talk about where her office is going to be. Say, Andy will eventually become so exasperated about having to wait 5 minutes for you to walk down while all the worthless lumpies are right there that he'll blow his top and have someone do it. Remind me to discuss interviews with you, who does certain ones. We'll explain elsewhere. And a question for you I'll send elsewhere. Okay, I probably spent enough time on this, but she's got the job, and it's just very clear from the text messages that they were both working together. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just adding, it just adds to the insight we have into this report and the relationships between Strzok, Page, McCabe. Okay, Clinton email investigation. Back to the OIG report. The Clinton email investigation began as a referral from the Inspector General of the intelligence community concerning Clinton's use of a personal email server during her time as Secretary of State. On July 5th, 2016, Comey publicly announced the FBI's recommendation to the department that no charges are appropriate in the case. On July 6, 2016, Attorney General Loretta Lynch announced that no charges would be brought related to the investigation. On October 28, 2016, 2 days before the online publication of the Wall Street Journal article at issue in this report, Comey informed Congress that the FBI had discovered additional Clinton-related emails in an unrelated investigation. That'd be the Weiner investigation on his laptop. On November 6, 2016, Comey announced that the FBI had completed its review of the additional emails and that, quote, we have not changed our conclusions that we expressed in July with respect to Secretary Clinton. The Clinton Foundation investigation. As detailed below, the disclosures by the special counsel, Lisa Page, the title she wanted, to the Wall Street Journal on October 27th, 28th, included statements effectively confirming the existence of the Clinton Foundation investigation. Prior to October 27th and 28th, the FBI had not publicly confirmed the existence of the Clinton Foundation investigation or issued any statements to the media discussing the details of that investigation. All right, events leading up to the October 30th article and its aftermath. 1, Comey refuses to confirm the existence of the Clinton Foundation investigation. That was on July 7th and other investigations on September 28th. In testimony before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee on July 7, 2016, FBI Director Comey refused to answer questions about whether the FBI was investigating the Clinton Foundation. Comey stated that he was not going to comment on the existence or non-existence of the Clinton Foundation investigation. Similarly, in testimony before the House Judiciary Committee on September 28, 2016, Comey refused to confirm or deny two different investigations during an FBI oversight hearing. He stated, quote, "Our standard is we do not confirm or deny the existence of investigations." McCabe PADAG call on the CF investigation on August 12th. McCabe told the OIG that on August 12, 2016, he received a telephone call from the PADAG regarding the FBI's handling of the Clinton Foundation investigation. McCabe said the PADAG, remember that's the Principal Assistant Director, Attorney General, expressed concerns concerns about FBI agents taking overt steps in the Clinton Foundation investigation. According to McCabe, he pushed back, asking, "Are you telling me that I need to shut down a validly predicated investigation?" McCabe told us that the conversation was, quote, "very dramatic," and he never had a similar confrontation with the PADAG call with a high-level department official in his entire FBI career. October 23rd article. On October 23rd, the Wall Street Journal published online an article by Devlin Barret stating that a political action committee run by Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe and Virginia Democratic Party, over which the article reported McAuliffe exerts considerable control, quote unquote, collectively donated $675,000 to the 2015 unsuccessful state Senate campaign of the wife of Andrew McCabe. This was a problem, which is why McCabe went to Lisa. It was like, "Lisa, you got to do some damage control for me." The article described McAuliffe as an influential Democrat. You all know who he was. And know that McCabe was an FBI official, quote, who later helped oversee the investigation into Mrs. Clinton's email use. The article contained an official FBI statement that McCabe played no role in his wife's 2015 state Senate campaign and was promoted to FBI deputy director months after his wife's defeat, quote, where he assumed for the first time an oversight role in the investigation into Secretary Clinton's emails. According to the article, FBI officials stated that McCabe's supervision of the Clinton email case in 2016 did not present or conflict on ethics issues because his wife's campaign was over by then. The article went on to note that when the Clinton email investigation was launched in July 2015, Mr. McCabe was, quote, running the FBI's Washington, D.C. field office, which provided personnel and resources to the Clinton email probe. Immediately following the online publication of the article, there was substantial public discussion as to whether McCabe's oversight of the Clinton email investigation had been appropriate in light of the information in the article. Additionally, on October 24, 2016, Barret emailed the Assistant Director for the Office of Public Affairs, I think is what that is, the ADOPA, about a follow-on story that he was working on. In that email, Barret asked ADOPA a number of questions about McCabe's involvement in certain matters, including the Clinton Foundation investigation. In particular, Barrett's email said that he was told that, quote, in the summer, McCabe himself gave some instruction as to how to proceed with the Clinton Foundation probe, given that it was the height of election season and the FBI did not want to make a lot of overt moves that could be seen as going after Clinton or drawing attention to the probe. Barrett's email asked ADOPA, quote, how accurate are these descriptions? Is there anything else I should know? That was the journalist's question. As detailed in Section 6, McCabe subsequently instructed Special Counsel Lisa Page to provide information to Barret for the follow-on story. The Attorney General expresses strong concern, Part 4, to McCabe about other FBI officials and leaks. McCabe told the OIG that during the October 2016 timeframe, it was his, quote, perception that there was a lot of information coming out of likely the FBI's New York office that was ending up in the news. McCabe told the OIG that he had some heated back and forths with the New York assistant director in charge over the issue of media leaks. I'm looking at the footnote. Okay. On October 26, 2016, McCabe and the New York ADIC participated in what McCabe described as, quote, a hastily convened conference call with the Attorney General, who delivered the same message to us about leaks, and specific focus on being on leaks regarding the high-profile investigation by the FBI's New York field office into the death of Eric Garner. McCabe told us that he never heard her use more forceful language. The New York ADIC confirmed that the participants, quote, got ripped by the AG on the issue of leaks. According to the New York ADIC's testimony and an email he sent himself on October 31st, McCabe indicated to the New York ADIC and a then FBI executive assistant, the EAD, Executive Assistant Director, in a conversation about Attorney General Lynch, disconnected from the call, that McCabe was recusing himself from the Clinton Foundation investigation. According to the New York ADIC's email, McCabe told them, quote, he may make a more formal decision at a later time. New York ADIC stated during his OIG interview, I think McCabe couched it as like, hey, this is not final. I don't know. I think he says he still has to talk about it. The New York ADIC stated that he clarified with McCabe that unless McCabe told him otherwise, the New York ADIC would begin reporting to the EAD, the Executive Assistant Director, on the Clinton Foundation investigation. McCabe, however, told the OIG that he did not recall such a conversation. He said, quote, I suppose it's possible that I may have referred to the concept if that was being generally discussed at the time, but I would not have said to the NYADIC, like, I think I'm recusing. Number 5, McCabe is excluded from a meeting regarding Clinton emails found on the Wiener laptop. On October 27, 2016, which is around the time that Lisa Page is going to be having those conversations with Devlin Barret and trying to make McCabe look good and impartial. So this right here might influence it. October 27, 10 a.m. of 2016, Comey held a meeting with the Clinton email investigation team to discuss obtaining a search warrant for a set of Clinton-related emails the FBI had discovered on a laptop belonging to Anthony Weiner, and taking additional steps in the Clinton email investigation. Lisa Page attended the meeting. McCabe was out of town, but joined the meeting via conference call. Shortly after the meeting began, the then FBI General Counsel, that'd be James Baker, suggested, and Comey agreed, that McCabe should leave the call. Comey told us, meaning the OIG, that he asked McCabe to drop off the call, and McCabe was very unhappy about it. Lisa Page also left the meeting. After discussions between FBI and department leadership on October 28, 2016, Comey sent a letter over department objections, meaning DOJ objections, informing Congress that the FBI was taking additional steps in the Clinton email investigation. That would be this letter that we went over yesterday, or in the previous episode, leading to Jason Chaffetz tweeting out this on October 28th or 29th. Go away, mosquito. Accounts differ about the reason for excluding McCabe from October 27th call. McCabe told the OIG that the reason stated on the call for dropping him related to the potential for discussion about classified information. However, Comey, and then Redacted, don't know who that is, and a special counsel, and Lisa Page, all told us that Comey asked McCabe to leave the call out of an abundance of caution because of the appearance issues following revelations in the Wall Street Journal October 23rd article. That's the article about the campaign donations from McAuliffe Associated PACs to McCabe's wife. McCabe discussed the issue of his participation in the Clinton email matter further with Comey and James Baker by telephone later that day. After these conversations, McCabe sent a text message to Lisa Page stating, "I spoke to both. Both understand that no decision on recusal will be made until I return and weigh in," meaning in person. He's coming back to the office after he gets back from his trip. On November 1st, 2016, McCabe sent emails to FBI executives and officials overseeing the Clinton Foundation investigation and the Clinton email investigation, informing them that he was recusing himself from those investigations. So November 1st, 2016, he officially recuses. But McCabe is spooked. In the media, he's been fingered in the media as a guy who is influenced by the Clintons and has possibly interfered in the investigations. The truth is he probably did. And we know from going over this timeline, it sure seems like he did, and others did, not just him. And so what's he do? Well, he gets Lisa Page to talk to Devlin Barret and talk about how he stood up for the investigation. He's going to affirm his image because him recusing from mid-year exam and the Clinton Foundation investigation aren't a good look. And it doesn't bode well that he's going to be retained. He could lose his deputy directorship. And I think he was really worried about that because he actually had done things he shouldn't have done. He actually was influenced by Hillary Clinton. McCabe authorizes special counsel and ADOPA to talk to Barret regarding Clinton Foundation investigation and to disclose August 12 McCabe PA-DAG call. By October 25th, 2016, McCabe had been notified that Barret was working on a follow-up story to the October 23rd article that would cover McCabe's oversight of the Clinton Foundation investigation and potential connections with McAuliffe campaign contributions to McCabe's wife. He knew another negative story was coming. McCabe thereafter authorized special counsel, Lisa Page, and the ADOPA to talk to Barret about his follow-up story. Lisa Page told us that the authorization from McCabe was done orally and it was, quote, pretty general. Page further stated that she understood from ADOPA that the first call with Barret would be receive mode to understand what Barrett's story would cover, and then they would develop a response. They understood their assignment, don't you think? Their assignment, their authorization from McCabe was an assignment to make McCabe, to rehabilitate McCabe, right? Especially since he was getting pulled off the two investigations officially. They needed to, in the public mind and with the other employees, they need to rehabilitate McCabe. At approximately 12:06 p.m. on October 27, 2016, shortly before Lisa Page was to speak with Barret for the first time, McCabe texted Page and asked, "Are you in with the Wall Street Journal now?" About 10 minutes later, at 12:19 p.m., Page texted McCabe back stating that she was going there now and would call him immediately after the call with Devlin. Special counsel Lisa Page told the OIG that she and the ADOPA then had their first call with Barret in receive mode regarding his follow-up story. According to Page's contemporaneous notes of the call and testimony to the OIG, she and the ADOPA learned during the call that Barret had sources who were adamant that McCabe gave a purported order to stand down on the Clinton Foundation investigation before the 2016 presidential election, implying that McCabe wanted to shut down the investigation for improper reasons. McCabe was about to be exposed as interfering in the investigation into the Clinton Foundation, protecting Hillary. And I feel like that stand down quote is in this timeline. Could be wrong, but I feel like that's one of the quotes we saw here. I remember the shut it down from March, but I feel like there was a stand down quote also. Maybe I'm mistaken. I can't control F this document, so it's difficult. I'm just scanning it real quick. Maybe not. Maybe not. No, I don't see it. It's not jumping out at me. So maybe Deputy Director was briefed. This is 7/19, so July 19th. Deputy Director was briefed on the Clinton Foundation investigation by the Criminal Division. It is unknown if he was fully briefed on this previously, as he requested a comprehensive briefing. CID provided a full briefing concerning the investigation involving open source CHS and redacted information. New York office was advised no overt investigative action was to take place unless authorized by the Deputy Director, McCabe. Right there. This is on August 1st. And this is after analysis of redacted obtained through a related LA investigation, that would be Gilbert Chowdhury, and the debriefing of existing CHSs were authorized. Analysis of Hillary Clinton redacted obtained through State Department during the Washington Field Office investigation on redacted was also authorized. I bet that's Hillary Clinton emails right there. So I think it might be here, even though it doesn't say stand down. It does say that they were told New York office was advised no overt investigative action was to take place unless authorized by Deputy Director McCabe. And they interpreted that as a, quote, stand down order on the Clinton Foundation investigation. Page texted McCabe at 1:25 p.m. and said, "Can you talk now?" After some additional text between them to arrange the call, telephone records reflect that McCabe and Lisa Page spoke by telephone at 2:54 p.m. for 51 minutes. According to Page, she briefed McCabe on the conversation with Barret and the purported stand-down order. Special counsel Lisa Page told the OIG that McCabe responded by reminding her that the August 12 PA-DAG call was completely inconsistent with that allegation. Lisa Page told us that she understood McCabe wanted her to provide the account of this August 12 call as a rebuttal to that stand-down allegation, and made a large notation of Friday, August 12 with PA-DAG at the top of her notes to remind herself to discuss it in the next call with Wall Street Journal reporter Devlin Barret. When interviewed by the OIG on November 29, 2017, McCabe's recollection of his call with the special counsel was consistent with hers. Specifically, McCabe stated that he authorized Lisa Page and the ADOPA to provide to Barret the account of his August 12 call with the PA-DAG because McCabe thought it was, quote, the best example to counter the incredibly damaging narrative in Barrett's intended story. McCabe said that he did not view the disclosure to the Wall Street Journal about the August 12 call as disclosing the existence of the Clinton Foundation investigation because the purpose was to demonstrate the FBI's independence. And, quote, there really wasn't any discussion of the case, of the merits of the case, the targets, or the subjects of the case. You fool. You fool. McCabe stated that this was the only time in his career where he had authorized the disclosure to the media of a one-on-one discussion that he had with a member of DOJ's leadership. FBI text message and phone records show that immediately following this, Lisa Page and ADA spoke for a second time with Barret, immediately following that conversation with McCabe. McCabe called Page at 4:38 p.m. and the two spoke for 6 minutes. Email and text message records show that approximately 1 minute after the call between McCabe and Special Counsel ended, Special Counsel Page and ADOPA began their second call with Barret, which lasted from approximately 4:45 p.m. to 5:21 p.m. According to Page's contemporaneous notes and testimony to the OIG, in this follow-up call with Barret, she responded to the claims regarding FBI leadership's handling of the Clinton Foundation investigation and provided the account of the August 12 McCabe PA-DAG call as the, quote, best evidence to counter Barrett's narrative. 2 minutes after the call ended, Page texted McCabe at 5:23 p.m. stating, "We're done. He's going to look at his story again and we'll circle back with him in the morning." According to the telephone records, McCabe thereafter called Lisa Page twice, once at 6:47 p.m. when they spoke for about 5 minutes, and again at 7:06 p.m. where they spoke for about 6 minutes. During the early afternoon call on October 28, 2016, Page and ADOPA had an additional call with Barret that lasted at least 15 minutes. According to Page's contemporaneous notes and testimony to the OIG, Barret provided them a preview of the revised story, which now incorporated aspects of the McCabe PA-DAG call on August 12 to rebut the, quote, stand down allegation. After this call ended, Special Counsel Lisa Page texted McCabe at 1:33 p.m. stating, "Just got off with Barret. Give me a call here." They then spoke for 23 minutes. But guys, what had they done? In their haste to rebut the stand down claim, which we know from the FBI's own documents is real, even if we don't think of it as a stand down order, everything was to go through Deputy Director McCabe. It seems pretty reasonable to characterize it as a stand down. You could caveat a stand down on all overt steps, but the FBI's own document confirmed that that Deputy Director McCabe took over the Clinton Foundation investigation and told everybody to don't do anything overt. Not while the election's going on. In their overreaction, they ended up confirming the existence of the Clinton Foundation investigation. They ended up exposing an internal feud. It was a Streisand. It did far more harm than good, didn't it? And to me, it's the classic, so classic thing where the cover-up is worse than the crime. The cover-up is worse than the crime. Isn't that what's happening here? They're trying to cover up that McCabe stood down. Tried to dampen the efforts of those offices, three different FBI field offices, tried to dampen their investigative efforts into the Clinton Foundation. And instead of not saying anything to Devlin Barret, instead of issuing a very bland, we can neither confirm nor deny, the FBI always sees through all of its investigative leads in any investigation, but we cannot confirm or deny the existence of this one. Instead of just being very plain, They overreacted and tried to cover it up. Not only cover it up, they tried to make McCabe look good. They tried to rehabilitate him after the damage the previous article had done. And they made the entire thing so much worse for McCabe, for the FBI, and for Hillary. There's quite the lesson there, isn't there? When you're caught, you're caught. When you're caught, you're caught, and you should just confront it. As difficult as it is, you just got to own it. You just got to own it. The next best option to just owning it outright and do max candor instead of lack of candor, have maximum candor. The next best thing is to say, I can't talk about it right now. Or something along those lines, right? Give me some time after the election. Or we can't confirm or deny. We don't have anything for you. We always investigate some boilerplate thing, which basically is like a but I still think there's a better way for them to do it. They could just but they could have just acknowledged the policy of the FBI and the DOJ about such things. But whether it's a very small thing in your life, this is a teachable moment we can extract from McCabe. Whether it's a very small thing in your life or it's a very big thing, maximum candor is always the best approach. All right, October 30th article. On October 30, 2016, prior to the article's online publication, Lisa Page exchanged text messages with the then FBI Deputy Assistant Director, the DAD, regarding the forthcoming article. The DAD forwarded to Lisa Page a Washington Post article from the day before titled "Justice Officials Warned FBI That Comey's Decision to Update Congress Was Not Consistent with Department Policy." And Comey got in trouble over that. In a way. I mean, he took a beating in the media for it. I searched that title. It's just going to give me the most recent stuff about him being indicted. The article stated that department officials told Comey that his decision to update Congress about the discovery of additional Clinton emails prior to the election was inconsistent with department policy. And DAD observed in his text message that this is all PADAG, end quote. Lisa Page responded, "Yeah, I saw it. Makes me feel way less bad about throwing him under the bus in the forthcoming Clinton Foundation article." Oh. Oh. Isn't that an interesting text? And I think I have it right here. I believe it's right there. Strzok Page text. The DAD is Strzok. And right here, he's just sent this. Justice officials warned FBI that Comey's decision to update Congress was not consistent with department policy. And links the article. I don't know if this URL still works. Let's find out. Now they've moved the article since then, I do believe. Yeah, they have. Page responds to Strzok sending it. Let's see, what's the time on this? Things have fallen apart. And this section of the text messages, it's drama. It's drama because of all this stuff. And let's see around. You got from me. Have you looked at it in a basement study by myself? The email in just sent James Baker, going back up to join the group. I'm sorry, there's no way you could have planned for any of this. ... And then that was Sunday at 0400. What are you doing up? I'm redlining. Want me to forward to you? I'm sure to put you back to sleep. And for an entire day. And then 1350. So this is Sunday at 1:50 p.m. Inbox. This is all Matt. And then justice officials warned FBI. That's the article right there. He says, yeah, I saw it. Makes me feel, and Page says, this is from Strzok. Strzok sends it to her. Says, yeah, I saw it. Makes me feel way less bad about throwing him under the bus in the forthcoming article. The forthcoming CF article. Yep, the whole tone is anti-bureau. Just a tiny bit from us, and serves him right. He's going to be pissed. They share another article. This one's from Strzok. Says FBI agents knew of Clinton-related emails weeks before director was briefed. FBI agents knew. She says, okay, now I'm getting angry. Sorry, utterly terrible day. Not sure I can identify one single redeeming thing about it. Oh God, I'm sorry. Stupid effing election. The Bureau doesn't deserve us, says Lisa Page. As long as you'll hire me in 3 years, I'm fine, says Strzok. I'm concerned there will surely be a holdover after 9. If that's the case, I want to be there. I'm so incredibly furious. I just walked out, and if I had anywhere to go, let him deal with everything. Okay, we'll jump back. We'll jump back over to the report. Page told us that she was referring to this text to her disclosure to Barret about the August 12th conversation between McCabe and PADAG. And what she meant by throwing PADAG under the bus was that it was quote, an unfortunate sort of fact or consequence, but it was necessary to rebut the notion that Andy McCabe was trying to kill the Clinton Foundation case for inappropriate or improper reasons. Barrett's follow-up article was published online on Sunday, October 30th, and appeared Wall Street Journal print edition. The article described how Comey's disclosure that FBI agents were taking another look at Clinton emails, quote, lays bare just days before the election tensions inside the Bureau and the Justice Department on how to investigate the Democratic presidential nominee. The article discussed not only the FBI's handling of the Clinton email investigation, but internal disagreements within the Bureau and the Justice Department surrounding the Clinton family's philanthropy. It stated that McCabe in particular was caught in an increasingly acrimonious fight for control between the Justice Department and FBI agents pursuing the Clinton Foundation case. Thereafter, the article highlighted the campaign donations to McCabe's wife by PACs associated with McAuliffe, who was described as a longtime ally of the Clintons and a Clinton Foundation board member. The article identified McCabe as the FBI official who sought to refocus the Clinton Foundation probe, quote unquote, and reported that agents further down the FBI chain of command had been told to stand down on the Clinton Foundation investigation, with the understanding that the order had come from the deputy director, Mr. McCabe. The article stated that others familiar with the matter deny Mr. McCabe or any other senior FBI official gave a stand-down instruction. The article recounted the August 12 conversation between McCabe and PA-DAG, identified as an unnamed senior Justice Department official. It stated, quote, according to a person familiar with the probes, on August 12, a senior Justice Department official called Mr. McCabe to voice his displeasure at finding out that New York FBI agents were still openly pursuing the Clinton Foundation probe during the election season. Mr. McCabe said agents still had authority to pursue the issue as long as they didn't use overt methods requiring Justice Department approvals. The Justice Department official was very pissed off, quote unquote, according to one person close to McCabe, meaning Lisa Page, impressed him to explain why the FBI was still chasing the matter the department considered dormant. Are you telling me that I need to shut down a validly predicated investigation? Mr. McCabe asked. According to people familiar with the conversation, after a pause, the official replied, of course not. There's a footnote. Both McCabe and PA-DAG told the OIG that the account of the August 12, 2016 telephone call given in the October 30th Wall Street Journal article was an accurate description of their discussion. However, PA-DAG told the OIG that he thought that, quote, the Bureau was trying to spin this conversation as some evidence of political interference, which was totally unfair. McCabe admonished two FBI executives, the New York ADIC and the then assistant director in charge of the Washington Field Division, told us that they each received calls from McCabe admonishing them for leaks contained in the October 30th Wall Street Journal article about the Clinton Foundation investigation. At no time did McCabe disclose to either of them that he, McCabe, had authorized his own special counsel, Lisa Page, to disclose information about the Clinton Foundation investigation to the reporter. So he threw two other people under the bus. He gave them a ringing. And to me, that's one of the things, like, if you think, okay, well, maybe it's not actually as bad, like maybe McCabe, like if you try and give McCabe the benefit of the doubt, that actually his rehab through Lisa Page of himself and his handling of this investigation was actually was more accurate than not, that he didn't tell them to stand down. And that he stood up to the DOJ and sought clarity, saying, are you telling me I need to shut this down? No, of course not. Okay. We're going to follow the predicated leads. Okay? Like, if you give him the benefit of the doubt on that, it's this behavior here where he goes and rings and, like, rips these two guys for leaks to the article, but then doesn't tell, but at the same time, he's also authorized his own special counsel to be the source. And then he lies about that later on. That's what takes away the benefit of the doubt. Because I'm willing to try and entertain this in a way, especially since we have this. I'm willing to entertain this in a way where I think, okay, it's an election. There hasn't been an indictment. There hasn't been a trial. There hasn't been a defense for any charged crime. No crime was charged. So, and we saw how the justice system can be weaponized against a candidate, like it was against Trump, right? And so it makes sense to me that the DOJ would have a policy that, hey, no overt investigative actions or investigative efforts towards a political candidate during the last 90 days or 120 days or whatever of an election. Let the election play out and let people vote how they want to vote. And let's not interfere. Let's not taint the political process with our investigation because it's not finished yet. It could be that we finish the investigation and we will, whoa, this person that just got elected or this person that didn't get elected we need to charge them with some crimes. That could happen. Or the opposite could happen. We could investigate a bunch of stuff and find, nope, we never should have charged them. But because we took these overt actions during campaign season, it interfered. It tainted the election process, right? That's understandable. So I'm willing to give McCabe the benefit of the doubt on this kind of thing, but it's these other behaviors where he's devious, where he's manipulative, where he conceals things, where he lies outright, where he takes things, where he does what Horowitz characterizes. He's doing this in his own personal interest to salvage his own reputation after having been damaged in the October 23rd article. Then maybe they know you're not honorable. You're not a straight shooter on this stuff. Okay. According to the New York ADIC's contemporaneous October 30th calendar notes and testimony to the OIG, McCabe called New York ADIC on Sunday, October 30th at 5:11 p.m. to express concerns over leaks from the FBI's New York field office in the October 30th Wall Street Journal article. The New York ADIC told the OIG that McCabe was, quote, ticked about the leaks in the article on the Clinton Foundation investigation, but the New York ADIC pushed back a little to note that New York agents were not privy to some of the information in the article. Also, according to New York ADIC's calendar notes, as well as his testimony to the OIG, New York ADIC spoke to the executive assistant director and other FBI managers after his call with McCabe to voice concerns about getting yelled at about this stuff, quote unquote, when he was supposed to be dealing with the executive assistant director. Remember that? He was supposed, why is McCabe coming around to talk to me about this? After all, didn't McCabe recuse himself? Oops. That's kind of the flaw in this narrative that McCabe is trying to construct for himself, isn't it? The Washington ADIC told the OIG that he received a call from McCabe regarding the October 30th article, and that McCabe admonished him regarding the leaks in the article. According to WADIC, McCabe told him to get his house in order, quote unquote. McCabe told us that he did not recall calling either of these individuals. Comey expresses concern. On Monday morning, October 31st, Comey held a staff meeting, which Lisa Page attended. According to Page's contemporaneous notes, during the meeting, Comey said, quote, need to figure out how to get our folks to understand why leaks hurt our organization. That same day, McCabe and Comey had a face-to-face conversation about the October 30th Wall Street Journal article. The accounts they provided to the OIG of that discussion contradicted one another. And I think that this right here was the beginning, or was the inflection point for Comey deciding to spin up the leak investigations that later that were at INSD, and that later he wrote memos about, and he had conversations with Trump. We'll read those memos later, probably in the next episode, because I've spent so much time on McCabe. I'll just leave this episode as the McCabe episode, I guess. In Comey's memos from his discussions with Trump, he talks about the damage the leaks do. And I think that's where this seed gets planted. Like, these leaks are destroying the FBI. And I think Comey starts to think about setting McCabe up. Not in a nefarious way, but to catch the leakers. According to McCabe's testimony to the OIG on November 29, 2017, he and Comey discussed the October 30th article in person on October 31st. When McCabe returned from his trip, McCabe said he told Comey that he had authorized ADOPA and Lisa Page to disclose the account of the August 12th call, and did not say anything to suggest in any way that it was unauthorized. McCabe told us that Comey did not react negatively, just kind of accepted it, quote unquote. McCabe also told us Comey thought it was a, quote, good idea that they presented this information to rebut the inaccurate and one-sided narrative that the FBI was not doing its job and was subject to DOJ political pressure. But the department and PADAG were likely to be angry that this information made its way into the paper. McCabe told us that he did not recall telling Comey prior to the publication of the October 30th article that he intended to authorize or had authorized special counsel and ADOPA to recount the August 12th call, although he said it was possible he did. When asked why he did not discuss with the director in advance, McCabe said the director Comey was, quote, very, very occupied at the time with the Wiener laptop issue. McCabe told us that if he had not been out of town, he would have talked to Comey about the disclosure in advance because it involved a significant issue. When questioned by the OIG as to whether the deputy director, or as deputy director, whether he had the capability to reach Comey wherever he was and whenever he needed, McCabe acknowledged that, yeah, he did. But it was challenging to do so between October 27th and 2028, given the Wiener laptop issue and the fact that Comey told him he did not want to discuss that issue with him. Do you think maybe McCabe was a little pissed off at Comey? And so he decided to authorize these leaks to the Wall Street Journal to try and rehabilitate his own image at the expense of some other things, and then gripe at two people, at the New York guy and the guy in the Washington field office about it, until they need to get their house in order. Throw someone over at DOJ under the bus, knowing Comey's going to take a lot of heat. Maybe he was pissed off and he didn't really want to go to Comey and talk to him about pushing back against these claims that were in the media because he was mad at Comey. And Comey had just taken him off the Clinton investigations, the two of them, the email and the foundation. And so McCabe was like, I'll get you back for that. Think about it. Think about how it could play out if the media narrative is that McCabe stood up to DOJ and said, no, we need to follow these leads. I didn't tell him to stand down. I pushed back against the DOJ trying to tell us, trying to say it was a dormant issue, that the investigation was dormant. I pushed back by saying, are you trying to tell me I need to shut down a properly predicated investigation? And then what happens? Comey removes McCabe from the two investigations. That makes it look like Comey's the one who's trying to shut it down, right? McCabe, you might say, was setting Comey up to take the fall. When the investigations didn't turn up anything, when they were eventually shut down because Hillary was going to win, McCabe was making sure that he came out looking good. And that when the demands came about for the FBI to be cleaned up, in case there was any perception of favorability towards Clinton, Comey would take the fall. Comey's account to the OIG, specifically about the portion of the October 30th Wall Street Journal article about the PADAG call, Comey told the OIG that he recalled seeing this article but did not know how the disclosure about the PADAG call in the October 30th article happened. He said that he was very concerned, quote unquote, about that part of the article because he felt it would further poison the FBI's relationship with the DOJ. And it, quote, explicitly confirms the existence of a criminal investigation of the Clinton Foundation. Comey told us he considers the disclosure about that call problematic because it related sensitive FBI information and was unauthorized unless either he or McCabe authorized it, and Comey knew that he did not authorize it. Comey told us that prior to the article's publication, he did not have any discussions with McCabe regarding disclosure of that August 12 call. He discussed the issue with McCabe after the article was published, and at that time, McCabe, quote, definitely did not tell me that he had authorized it. Comey said that McCabe gave him the exact opposite impression. Quote from Comey, I don't remember exactly how, but I remember some form or fashion, and it could have been like, can you believe this crap? Or how does this stuff get out? That kind of thing. But I took from whatever communication we had that he wasn't involved in it. I have a strong impression that he conveyed to me, it wasn't me, boss. And I don't think that was by saying those words. I think it was mostly likely by saying, I don't know how this shit gets in the media, or what would people talk about this? Why would people talk about this kind of thing? Meaning, why would people in the FBI talk about this to the media? Words that I would fairly take as I, Andy, didn't do it. And I actually didn't suspect Andy. After conversation with my chief of staff, Rybicki, my worry was his aide, Lisa Page, was doing it. And Comey was right. Comey was right. About the Lisa Page part, anyway. But he didn't suspect McCabe. When asked by the OIG about whether he would have approved the disclosure of the PADAG call to the Wall Street Journal, Comey stated, quote, so just to make sure there's no fuzz on it, I did not authorize this. I would not have authorized this. If someone says that I did, then we ought to have another conversation because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Comey said he believed that McCabe would have known from experience not to discuss any disclosures regarding pending FBI investigations with him, Comey, before releasing such information to the media. Comey told us that McCabe would have known that the disclosure of the existence of a specific investigation was a significant event that he should discuss with me first. Given Comey's responsibility as FBI director for how the FBI interacts with the world, Comey told us that the disclosure of the existence of a specific investigation would require much internal discussion on the form and wording. It would not be done through anonymous sources in a newspaper. Comey further told us that he would not have authorized the disclosure of the account of the August 12 call, even if an argument had been made that it was in the best interest of the FBI. Comey said that such an argument would not have persuaded him in light of the following circumstances. One, the disclosure involved publicly confirming the Clinton Foundation investigation, which Comey had declined to do 3 months earlier during testimony to Congress. Two, the disclosure risked harming FBI department relations, meaning FBI to DOJ. And the disclosure occurred 2 days after the firestorm surrounding the October 28 letter to Congress reopening the Clinton email investigation. Now, why? Why do you think this issue of FBI department relations keeps coming up? Might it have to do with Loretta Lynch trying to ice the Clinton investigations? Might it have to do with the Dutch intel that Comey had seen and it was on his mind, and he had felt pressured from the DOJ to not let the Clinton email investigation go too far? I think so. knowledge of other FBI executives. McCabe told us that among FBI executive managers, quote, people knew that generally he had authorized the disclosure because it was my conversation, and the fact that the ADOPA and Lisa Page were engaging with Devlin Barret over an article was not a secret. McCabe identified several FBI managers who he believed likely or possibly would have known. However, none of the potential witnesses identified by McCabe, which were James Baker, James Rybicki, and the counterintelligence assistant director, which was Priestap. Is it Bill Priestap, I think? Or was it another name escapes me. Either way, regardless, and Comey's then chief of staff, none of them corroborated this or recalled knowing at the time or even now that McCabe had authorized the disclosure. Baker told OIG that McCabe told him recently in discussions, like right before he was interviewed, that he had authorized it. So McCabe is spinning a lie here. Oh, well, everybody knew I was handling that. I authorized it. Another lie. General Counsel Baker told us that had McCabe discussed the matter with him, he would have counseled McCabe to avoid anything related to the Clinton Foundation investigation, including authorizing disclosures to the press. Given Baker and Comey's pending concerns about McCabe's potential appearance on Clinton-related matters. Remember, it was Baker and Comey who said we need to get McCabe and told McCabe to get off the call and then removed him from those investigations. James Rybicki, Comey's chief of staff, the ADCI, and McCabe's chief of staff told us that they had heard about such an authorization, or had they heard of it, they would have remembered it, because it would have been significant and spurred conversations among senior executive managers. These witnesses also told us that because the disclosure detailed a private conversation between two high-ranking officials at the FBI and the department on a high-profile investigation, they did not believe that it was an authorized disclosure. McCabe's chief of staff told us, quote, I just can't imagine that the deputy would have authorized the leak. It just doesn't seem to serve. I guess it serves the purpose of the deputy saying, hey, look, do you want us to shut this thing down? I guess it serves Andy in that way. But it really highlights the dysfunction between the FBI and the DOJ. And to that end, it doesn't serve the greater good. So it was obvious to McCabe's chief of staff that this served Andy. It made him look good. On November 3rd, 2016, the Wall Street Journal published another story by Barret on the Clinton Foundation investigation and repeated parts of the account of the McCabe PADAG call. That evening, McCabe emailed New York ADIC and stated, quote, this is the latest Wall Street Journal article. Call me tomorrow. According to the New York ADIC's calendar notes on November 4th and his testimony to the OIG, he called McCabe and spoke to him for 10 minutes around 7 a.m. regarding leaks in the Wall Street Journal, and McCabe was angry. New York ADIC's calendar notes also reflect that McCabe expressed to him, quote, will be consequences and get to the bottom of it post-election. Need leaks to stop. It's damaging to the org. When he was the one who leaked. McCabe told the OIG that he did not recall the details of this conversation, but it was probably about the leaks. The inspection division opens an investigation of that Wall Street Journal leak May 2017. It expanded, in doing so, it expanded a pre-existing investigation of media leaks to include the source of the information on the October 30th Wall Street Journal article regarding the August 12 McCabe call. And see, I think that this pre-existing one, necessarily this all started under Comey. So like people pretend like that Comey didn't care about the leaks, but these investigations started under him. And I think he was part of them. part of getting them started, I mean. He raised the issue with Trump, and him and Trump were in alignment on how important it was to get to these leaks and stop it. And let me emphasize this. Guys, do you know why, besides it being damaging to the department or whatever, do you know why immediately as Trump comes in, why him and Comey are on the same page about stopping the leaks to the media? Because they need trustworthy, loyal people if they're going to drain the swamp. You can't have details such as the existence of an investigation, or the stage that it's at, or who's involved in it, what they're looking at. You can't have these leaks occurring if you're going to actually drain the swamp and catch the bad guys. It can't happen because it'll tip them off. If you have people leaking to the media about the investigation, you probably have people leaking to the targets about the investigation. You need it to be quiet. The best investigations nobody knows about until there's an announcement that somebody's been indicted. And think about how tightly think about how unknown all of these were. All of these investigations: Arctic Haze, Echo's Fate, Foggy Fall, Genetic Christmas, the Schiff whistleblower investigation, the Riding Hood, Siren's Lure, Tropical Vortex. All of these leak investigations were going on starting in 2017. They all started in 2017. And nobody knew about them. They were done as quietly as possible. It wasn't until like 2019, 2020 that rumors about leak investigations started to come up. And it wasn't confirmed. I think Brian Cates did an article about it in 2020, I want to say. And then I did my article about it in 2023 because I found one of Durham's. I found this one in DC where I found this application where they were trying to get access to 6 Gmail accounts. And I found out that they were Gmail accounts related to media companies, related to journalists. And where? Oh, yeah. June. Yeah, it was June 8th of 2021. It was revealed in a filing that the New York Times was trying to get access to this order, and there was a gag order on one of their journalists, and a judge had put a gag order on the New York Times telling them they could not talk about this right here, this application, this search warrant for 6 Gmail accounts of reporters who used to work at the New York Times. Those reporters were Matt Apuzzo, Michael Schmidt, Adam Goldman, Mr. Eric Lickblow, and there were 2 other people. And it connected to this very same article right here, which we're going to talk about later, which is the article. It has all 4 of those guys, the April article, which was the subject of the Arctic, what we now know is called Tropical Vortex investigation. We didn't know that then. I lost my report. There it is. Okay. So Inspection Division opens their investigation. They interview McCabe. When they first interviewed him, they interviewed him on May 9th, the same day that Comey was fired. Comey became acting director that day. That happened after they had interviewed McCabe. But I think it's coordinated. I think it's a plan. Inspection Division investigators documented the May 9th interview in contemporaneous notes, and they sent McCabe a signed sworn statement, a SSS, okay, that he was supposed to sign, affirming, swearing out. These were his answers in the interview. In his interview with the OIG on November 29, 2017, McCabe provided a starkly different account of what he believes happened in that interview. The Inspection Division's written record of the interview says that 2 agents were there, a supervisory special agent and the chief of the Internal Investigation Section. They interviewed McCabe under oath in his office in the afternoon. And it was about the leaks that they were investigating. And during that interview, after discussing with McCabe a different and unrelated media leak investigation, there were a number of them going on, as we just looked at, the Inspection Division's agents provided McCabe with a copy of the October 30th article for review. And McCabe initialed that copy of it to show, you showed that to me. He initialed it. According to the special agent's contemporaneous notes, in both agents' testimony to the IG, they drew McCabe's attention specifically to the portion of the article that involved that August 12th phone call. The section chief told the IG that the entire interview, including the discussion about the article, was conducted in McCabe's office while they were sitting at a table in his office. And it was on that table that McCabe initialed the copy of the article and reviewed it. The section chief told us that the interviews with McCabe were all conducted in the privacy of his office, from beginning to end. And that it was standard practice to handle it that way, and there was a particular witness involved to the interview. Wait a minute. I read that as there was a third person. There's not. They're talking about the person they're interviewing. Okay. So special agent took 2.5 pages of contemporaneous notes during the interview, almost all of which concerned the October 30th article and that call. According to the special agent's notes and testimony, McCabe was given an opportunity to review the article, and he then told the agents that he remembered the article and said that the account in the article of his August 12th call was accurate. Also, according to the special agent's notes and testimony, McCabe told them that he had, quote, no idea where it came from or who the source was. Flat out lied. No two ways about it. Just flat out lied. I don't know where it came from. I don't know who the source was. Flat out lie. The agent further told the OIG that McCabe stated during the interview that he had related the account of the call to others numerous times. And that left the special agent with the impression that, quote, they would not get anywhere by asking McCabe how many people could have known about what appeared to be a private conversation, because apparently McCabe had told everybody in the office about his confrontational talk with the PADAG. Special agent told us that he didn't need to take many notes during the interview because at that point, he viewed McCabe as the victim of the leak. And McCabe had told the agents that he did not know how it happened. So they leave that. He's the deputy director. and they're thinking, okay, this leak came from somewhere else, and basically he's the victim. That's their initial impression. The whole interaction was only 5 to 7 minutes long. And it was flowing because McCabe was seemingly the victim and claims he did not know who leaked it. Similarly, the section chief told us that the overarching takeaway from the interview from McCabe was that McCabe did not grant anyone permission to divulge the account of the August 12th call. The discussion wasn't rushed, and that none of the discussion with McCabe on media leaks ended abruptly. There was nothing unusual about it. He's like, "Are you telling me that I need to shut down the validated investigation?" Quote. And McCabe said he was disappointed it had appeared in the article. So they prepared a draft statement recounting their interview with him and emailed it to him for him to sign, saying, "Yep, I affirm, I'm swearing out that my answers to you were true and the notes you took about the interview are accurate," all of that. I'm going to start skipping some stuff because it restates things we've already read, so I'm not going to read it twice. And this is already a long episode. They emailed that statement, the SSS sworn statement paragraph, to McCabe for him to read and confirm and sign. Approximately a month later, McCabe had failed to execute and return the draft sworn statement. So on June 23rd, the original interview was on May 9th. On June 23rd, Inspection Division again emailed it to him and again requested that he review and sign it. However, the Inspection Division actually accidentally sent it to a different FBI employee rather than the acting director, Andrew G. McCabe, because now he had changed. He's now the acting director. The unintended recipient forwarded the Inspection Division email to McCabe. That same date, McCabe emailed the Inspection Division to note the error in the address, but he did not sign the draft sworn statement, and he did not communicate with the Inspection Division regarding the draft until August 18th. During his OIG interview on November 29th, 2017, McCabe provided a very different account of his interactions with the Inspection Division on May 9th. McCabe told the OIG that the agents must have gotten it wrong when they wrote in the draft sworn statement that he had told them on May 9th that he did not authorize the conversation and that he did not know who the source was. McCabe said that he did not believe he told the Inspection Division that he did not authorize the disclosure, but added, "I don't remember what I said to them. And I don't remember discussing authorization of that article." The Inspection Division folks and I walked away from that exchange with a different understanding. However, he acknowledged to the OIG that his initials appeared on the copy of the article that was presented to him. And McCabe told the OIG that he did not know and could not explain how the Inspection Division got the impression that he thought it was an unauthorized leak because he said he does not believe he told them that. McCabe also asserted that the May 9th meeting concerned an unrelated leak matter, and that the discussion about the October 30th article occurred near the end of it, and that one of the people on that team pulled me aside and asked me a question about the Wall Street Journal article. He elaborated by stating that the Inspection Division agents were walking out of my office in the hallway, and the section chief kind of grabbed me by the arm and said, "Hey, let me ask you about something else." McCabe said that he and the chief were still in his office, and he thought standing during the conversation, but that the other two agents, McCabe recalled there being a third agent, not two, there being three people, not two. And he said the section chief showed him the October 30th article at that time and asked him a question or two about it. And that was it. And it was a very quick exchange. McCabe said he was confused as to why this article was even being raised because it did not relate to a different media leak that McCabe asserted was the main focus of the meeting. I want to pause. I'm just going to throw something out there. McCabe says there was another agent there, okay? That there was a third Inspection Division agent. And I'm just going to throw this out there. One of the things that I've learned from from listening to like statement analysis folks and statement analysis experts and those people is like sometimes liars will project or they'll recall details of something, and there will be leakage in the way they recall it. There'll be extra information, and it's because it's so difficult to deceive other people, because when you tell a lie, especially one that's high stress, you have constantly in your mind what you should not say. You have the information in your head, and it's present in the forward parts of your mind what the truth is. And then at the same time, you have little markers on it of what not to say. And then you also have what it is you want to say to cover it up. So one of the things that makes lying so difficult and deceiving others so difficult, especially on high stress subject matter, is that you have all three of those things and maybe other stuff in your head, like maybe the consequences of what would happen if you were to tell the truth. That could be a fourth line of thought in your head. And all of those things will be going on in your head as you're trying to deceive whoever's in front of you. And that's why you get leakage. That's why you get people slipping up in their lies and accidentally using a word that functions as a clue as to what the truth is, or saying something they regret, or misspeaking, or slurring their words, or hesitating as they speak, because they're not, it's not just that they're trying to get their lies in order, it's that they're trying to get all of that information in order. And they're trying to double check the lie they're going to tell against all the things they're not supposed to. And so the way this strikes me with McCabe remembering another person being in the office is, I think that he is thinking about Lisa Page. And it's almost, and what happens is when he recalls this incident where he deceived the inspection division agent and chief, when he was pulling off that deception and lying to them, the whole time he's thinking about Lisa Page, who he authorized to do the leaks. And so in his mind, when he travels back to that, there's three people in the room besides himself. Does that make sense? And so I don't think it's a small thing that he's like, oh, I thought there were three of them. I think in his head, like the way he recalls it, when his mind travels back to that instant, there are three people in the room. And one of them is Lisa Page, even though she's not really there. She's in his head because he knows the truth is he authorized her to go and leak. And he knows that she leaked all these things to the Wall Street Journal. And in his mind is, I have to protect her. I got to talk to her about this. They're looking into this leak. I got to make sure she knows, and we got to get our story straight. So he lies in the moment, and then he never signs the sworn statement until he can confer with Page. He hopes it goes away. He hopes they don't figure it out. McCabe told the OIG that he did not remember when he first reviewed the revised draft sworn statement. Addressing that article, he said it could have been months later after I received it. I don't remember reviewing the statement while I was acting director. It's possible, but I don't remember when I think it's possible I just put the entire thing aside and said I'll deal with that some other time, which is probably true. The other time ended up being when I was back as deputy director after Christopher Wray was sworn in August 1st. McCabe's initial account under oath to the OIG on July 28th. The OIG interviewed McCabe under oath in connection with its ongoing review of various FBI and department actions in advance of the 2016 election. The primary focus of the interview was to determine McCabe's awareness of the existence of certain text messages between Lisa Page and Strzok that the OIG had recently discovered. During the course of the interview, the OIG showed McCabe text messages dated October 27th, 28th, and 30th from Page to Strzok, indicating that Page had been in contact with Barret and appeared to have been a source for the October 30th article. At the time of the interview, the OIG was not aware of the Inspection Division's May 9th interview of McCabe. The OIG showed McCabe a text exchange on October 30th, and this is when McCabe knows he's caught, in which Strzok forwarded an article from the Post to Lisa Page entitled "Justice Officials Warned FBI About His Decision," and Strzok said, "This is the call with Matt." He says, "This is all PADAG," and that's that text here where he says Matt. Right here. This is all Matt. Here, let me just type in Matt. Maybe Matt will come up. Right. Nope, it didn't. Let me search for that bus comment again. There you go. Right here. This is all Matt. And it's Matt, whoever is the principal ADAG. That's from Strzok. And then Page replies, "Yeah, I saw it. Makes me feel way less bad about throwing him under the bus in the forthcoming article." Yep, the whole tone is anti-bureau, just a tiny bit from us, and it serves him right. He's going to be pissed. Makes me feel way less bad about throwing him under the bus in the forthcoming Clinton Foundation article. These texts suggest that Lisa Page may have provided the information to Barret concerning McCabe's August 12th call. The OIG asked McCabe, which we're not sure what CEF relates to, perhaps Clinton Foundation? Do you happen to know? Asked Horowitz. McCabe said, "I don't know what she's referring to." Another lie. Or perhaps a code name, says OIG. Not one that I recall, says McCabe, but this thing is like right in the middle of the allegations about me, and so I don't really want to get into discussing this article with you. Okay, says the OIG. McCabe says, because it just seems like we're kind of crossing the strings a little bit there. OIG says, was she ever authorized to speak to reporters in this time period? Was Lisa Page authorized? McCabe says, not that I'm aware of. So we have a lie right here, and then another lie here by obfuscation, you could say. He knows what's going on, but he pretends he doesn't. Not one, I don't recall it being about a code name. I don't really want to get into this right here. It's right in the middle of a stressful time. It seems like we're kind of crossing the lines here, throwing up defenses right there. Was she ever authorized? Not that I'm aware of. Another lie. Later in the interview, the OIG directed McCabe's attention to other text from October 27th and 28th indicating Lisa Page was talking to Barret. McCabe stated, quote, "I was not even in town during those days, so I can't tell you where she was or what she was doing." On August 1st, 2017, McCabe, this is when Ray got confirmed, right? McCabe placed a telephone call to the OIG Assistant Inspector General to correct the statement he had given on July 28th. In an email prepared the same day, the AIG summarized the call in relevant part as follows. McCabe stated that he believes that Lisa Page may have been authorized by him to work with ADOPA and to speak with the Journal for the late October article. He said he had worked with Page on previous Wall Street article earlier in the month when they spent the day trying to correct inaccuracies. At the time the second article was being prepared, McCabe was out of town redacted. It's redacted where he was. He believes he may have authorized Lisa Page to work with the ADOPA and speak to Devlin Barret of the Wall Street Journal because she had previously worked with McCabe on the issue raised by his wife's political campaign and was very familiar with those issues. He said ADOPA would be familiar with Lisa Page's role and authority to speak. The OIG questioned McCabe about his August 1st call during the OIG interview on November 29th. This is the second time they interview him. And McCabe told the OIG that he had called the AIG on August 1st after spending, quote, a lot of time thinking about it over the weekend, and that on further recollection, yeah, I remember authorizing Page and the ADOPA to talk to the Wall Street Journal. He said it was, quote, important to me that the AIG and you all did not have the misimpression about the authorization I had given to him and the special counsel to interact with Devlin Barret on the article. He further stated it was important to him that the OIG not, quote, start heading off in the direction on the AD or the special counsel that would have not have been accurate. I think, in other words, he had a powwow with them, especially Page. But we got to get our story straight. The inspection division talked to me about this. Now the IG talked to me about it. I'm no longer director. I'm back to being deputy director. There's a leak investigation. They're going to come talk to you guys. We got to get our story straight. When the OIG pointed out the McCabe statement on July 28th that he didn't know where Lisa Page was or what she was doing on October 27, 28 was inaccurate, he stated, yeah, as I said before, and she made clear, I was very concerned, and I think I said at the time, uncomfortable about discussing things that I thought were outside the scope that the AIG had identified for me that day. And I felt that that's the direction that the questions were coming from. I didn't feel comfortable saying, vouching for what was in Strzok and Page's text and saying what they meant. I had not thought about the Wall Street Journal article and conversations we had around it in quite a long time, and so I misspoke. Mm-hmm. Sure, Andy. McCabe denied that being shown the text message on July 28th that indicated Lisa Page had spoken to Barret caused him to change his account in order to protect Lisa Page. But of course it did. McCabe said, no, it was just a thinking process was done on my own without talking to any FBI employees or reviewing past emails or text messages. Lisa Page stated that she and McCabe did not discuss, quote, getting their story straight with respect to the Wall Street Journal article. Page told the OIG that the last time she spoke with McCabe about the article was in October, when the article was published. I think she's lying. Inspection Division and the OIG interviewed Page under oath on August 7th, September 7th, and October 26, 2017. At the time, Inspection Division investigators were not aware of the Lisa Page text messages. During the August 7th interview, they weren't. They had not made progress uncovering who may have been the source of the August 12th call. During the interview, special counsel told Inspection Division agents under oath that she was a source for the disclosure of the account. The disclosure was fully authorized by McCabe, and that she and the ADOPA provided the information to Barret in a telephone call from the FBI OPA office. Page signed a sworn statement on August 15th to that effect, which included an exhibit in her contemporaneous notes of the discussions with Barret on October 27th and 28th. So she came clean about it. Page gave the same account to the IG on two subsequent interviews, September 7th and October 26th. So the Inspection Division goes back and interviews McCabe again on August 18th. In light of the special counsel's testimony, Page, the agents told us that during the re-interview, he affirmatively showed McCabe the Wall Street Journal article again, asked him again if he authorized the disclosure. McCabe said that he said they looked at it and he read it, and as nice as he could be, he said, yep, I did. although he did not recall specifically doing it. The agent stated that McCabe said he did not recall authorizing the description of the PAD call, took responsibility and he took ownership for it, and he said he was okay with it. The agent said, I remember saying to him, "Sir, you understand that we put a lot of work into this based on what you've told us. I mean, I even said long nights and weekends working on this, trying to find out who amongst your ranks of trusted people would do something like that." And he just kind of looked down, kind of nodded and said, yeah, I'm sorry. Remember, they thought he was a victim, and they treated the entire investigation as though McCabe was the victim. The agent's contemporaneous notes also reflected that he said to McCabe that the inspection division would have taken a different approach to it if McCabe had told them that he authorized the article. McCabe responded, "I know, but there was a lot going on at the time." According to the Inspection Division Agent 2, and consistent with redacted contemporaneous notes, McCabe stated that he did authorize special counsel and ADOP to speak on background. McCabe told us that he convened the August 18th meeting with the Inspection Division, quote, "for the purpose of telling them that I would not sign the sworn statement because, amongst other things, it wasn't accurate." The August 18th meeting was the first time he had told the Inspection Division about the signed sworn statements. August 31st, the OIG took over the investigation. The Inspection Division chief recommended turning the matter over to OIG because it was no longer appropriate for GS-14 agents in the internal investigation section to continue investigation of their own deputy director. And they needed to turn it over to an independent authority, so it went to Horowitz. The OIG interviewed McCabe on November 29th, 2017, under oath, again. And McCabe was represented by counsel during the interview. Among other things, as detailed in prior sections, McCabe told us that he authorized that leak, that he did not recall discussing the disclosure with Comey in advance of authorizing it, although it was possible he did. That after publication of the article, he told Comey that he had authorized the disclosure and that Comey did not react negatively, just kind of accepted it, quote unquote. Thought it was good that he presented the information, so he's still lying about that. That other FBI managers knew generally he had authorized the disclosure, which doesn't seem to be true. That notwithstanding the accounts of the inspection agents regarding the May 9th call, he had not authorized this when he said that at the end of the May 9th meeting with the agents on the unrelated leak matter, he was pulled aside, that despite being asked to sign the sworn statement multiple occasions, he probably did not review the language until after Director Wray was confirmed. I think he ran from it. That the explanation for the inaccuracies of July 28th testimony to the OIG was that he was surprised to be asked about the matter. Of course, that's, when you're surprised, you lie, don't you guys? That between May 9th and August 18th, he did not affirmatively tell Inspection Division he had authorized the disclosure. That he convened the August 18th meeting with the Inspection Division to tell them that he would not sign the previous sworn statement because it wasn't accurate. So we have that lack of candor with then Director Comey. We conclude, the OIG concludes, Horowitz concludes that McCabe lacked candor, that he lied during his conversation with Comey about that article. Comey said McCabe definitely did not tell him that he had authorized the disclosure. So now we get to this lack of candor section, and we've already gone over where his lies are. It's let me go back to the beginning where it lists them right here. So McCabe lied to Comey on October 31st. He lied to the Inspection Division agents on May 9th. He lied. Oops. Go back. Let me try that again. McCabe, according to Horowitz analysis, McCabe lied to Director Comey on October 31st, where he said he didn't know how the information got out. He didn't know anything about it. He lacked, according to the information that went into the article, he lied during his interview under oath with the Inspection Division agents on May 9th of 2017. He lied under oath during his interview with the IG on July 28th, and then he was subsequently showed the Page-Strzok text messages that proved he was lying. And then he lied again under oath to the IG investigators on November 29th. What was that lie? We already know what the other ones were. What's that lie? We conclude that McCabe lacked candor or lied during the OIG audio recorded interview on July 28th. Okay, we already know that one. That's not page 31. Where is page 31? Here we go. He lied again, the fourth lie that's specifically cited by the IG, although there's more lies than four. There's much more than four. He lied again during his interview under oath with the IG investigators on November 29th. We conclude that McCabe lacked candor during an OIG interview under oath on November 29th when he falsely told the OIG in a recorded interview that A, he told Comey on October 31st that he had authorized the disclosure, and that McComey agreed it was a good idea, and that he did not deny Inspection Division agents on May 9th he had authorized the disclosure to. He did not deny to them that he had authorized it, and that so he said that he didn't. He lied again about that May 9th interview. And then he lied again to the IG when he said that the interview about the article occurred at the end of the meeting and it was unrelated to the larger meeting that they were having, to some unrelated leak. Okay, now it goes into the media policies, and we don't need to get into that. We don't need to get into that. Let's go back to what we have now going on with the indictment. Let's go to this right here, which this question from Ted Cruz is the basis of the count of lying in the indictment of Comey. How's it going to play? Come on, you're ruining my moment here. I made it mad. Let me refresh the page. Right there. May 3rd. There we go. Okay, let's see what it'll play now.
May 3rd, 2017. In this committee, Chairman Grassley asked you point blank, quote, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation? You responded under oath, quote, never. He then asked you, quote, have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton administration? You responded again under oath, no. Now, as you know, Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly and repeatedly stated that he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal and that you were directly aware of it and that you directly authorized it. Now, what Mr. McCabe is saying and what you testified to this committee cannot both be true. One or the other is false. Who's telling the truth?
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
So your testimony is you've never authorized anyone to leak. And Mr. McCabe, if he says contrary, is not telling the truth. Is that correct?
Again, I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
All right.
Okay. Totally fair for him to not characterize Andy's testimony, but we all know what's happened. Who do you believe? This question right here is the basis for this count in the indictment. And Ted Cruz directly brings up Andy McCabe saying that Comey had directly authorized the leaks to the media. But do you believe Andy McCabe? Horowitz doesn't. Andy McCabe has already been caught lying all of these times. So how is that count going to hold up in court? And knowing that that is the basis, that question right there from Cruz is the basis for this count, you know McCabe's going to be called to testify. He has to be. So that makes it seem, reading it this way, makes it seem like person 3 is Andy McCabe, right? Okay, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. Next, we're going to, next episode, we'll go into the Comey IG report, which isn't super kind to Comey. We'll go into that report, and we're going to read the memos that Comey sent himself that are at issue in that report, because I think they give us a lot of insight into a bunch of things about Trump and about Comey. And I think it's worth going through all this material because it better informs us ahead of more information coming out in this indictment. And as I said before, I think this indictment's going to become, I think there's going to be a superseding indictment here. So we're not going to be left with just this one. I think there's going to be more people involved, but the best way, as I've talked about before, the best way to counter or defend yourself against the media manipulation and the hyperbole and the over-the-top emotional clickbait, rage bait, there's so much of in the left and the right, is to go to the documents and inform yourself by the facts of the investigation. When we go into this, we'll also end up looking at at Daniel Richman being a source, which is still a possibility. So like what I'm trying to do is break down this indictment. If Andy McCabe is the source, is person 3, if Daniel Richman is person 3, if Lisa Page is person 3, if James Rybicki is person 3, if James Baker is person 3, I think the person that, and as I do it, like I can set this up to be any of those people. But Andy McCabe is a strong candidate for being person 3, right? Considering everything we just looked at, it makes this whole thing makes a ton of sense if person 3 is Andy McCabe. Makes perfect. It fits perfectly. But it also fits perfectly if it's Page or if it's a couple others. So, and we'll get into that in the next episode. All right, if you like this episode, visit my link tree. You'll find all the places to follow, watch, and listen, and all the ways to support. Really appreciate you guys going to the affiliate links, Benson Honey Farms, Bootleg Products, Manly Cans. Keep my coffee cup full at Ko-Fi.com. And most of all, thank you to everybody who's a subscriber at justhuman.substack.com. All right, y'all have a good evening or morning or whatever it is. Stay positive. Stay human. I'll see you on the next one.